Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the webinar today on transforming your SharePoint capabilities with BPM. My name is Madhu, and I will be the moderator for today's session. I also have Hima, who is the technical evangelist, and Jocelyn, the business development manager from Invensys, now a part of Schneider Electric. Before we get started, I would like to share a few housekeeping rules for this session. During the webinar, all participants will be placed on listen-only mode. Participants can ask questions using the chat functionality found on your WebEx interface. This session will run for about 60 minutes, and 10 minutes towards the end is dedicated to Q&A. At any point of time, if you're facing difficulties in hearing the organizer or in seeing the shared screen, do let us know using the chat interface. The session is being recorded and will be sent to all attendees and registrants shortly. And finally, do email us at skelta.marketing@invensys.com with your feedback and on any other sessions that you could improvise in future. With that, the broad level agenda for today's session is to touch upon who is Invensys Skelta, what we do, and who are we, and what do we do in terms of the global perspective in the BPM market. And then get into a little bit of why do enterprises need BPM when they already have SharePoint offerings. And then a quick brief about the Skelta BPM platform/product. And then get into an in-depth understanding of the connector, the main focus of today's topic, which is the Skelta SharePoint Accelerator. So I enjoyed the session, and over to you, Jocelyn.
Hey, thanks, Madhu. Hi, good afternoon, everybody. This is Jocelyn. I'm responsible for sales in the APAC region. So today's session is about transforming BPM SharePoint capabilities. So what I'll do is I'll just give you a quick introduction about Invensys Skelta. As Madhu mentioned, it's part of Schneider Electric now. And so Skelta is a power brand offering from Invensys. What we basically do is business process management and advanced workflow automation software. So basically the product and offerings are, we have the core product, that's Skelta BPM, with the connectors to Microsoft technologies like SharePoint, Office, Stock, and Dynamics, also to SAP. And we also do have a few packaged applications like accounts payable, DMS, enterprise risk management, HRIS. And we also provide R&D professional services. So for what we do have is a services team who will help you with the implementation of the BPM product. As we go ahead, we will talk more about BPM. Hima will take you through the product, and also she will explain to you about the connectors. Just to give you one more idea about the ecosystem that we have, globally we have partners across the world, around 150 partners, and as of now we have sold around 1,000 licenses worldwide. So Skelta BPM has been in the market for around 15 years. So we have a very good network of value-added resellers, global SIs, and OEMs. And also we have partners across the globe to deliver the services. With that, I'll pass it on to Hima. During the call, any questions you have, probably at the end of the session, you can ask, as Madhu mentioned, or always you can drop us an email also. Hima?
Thank you, Jocelyn. Thank you, Madhu. So I'm going to focus on the first 15 minutes from now on the presentation, and then move on to a live demonstration of the product that we have. So why would you choose a BPM despite having a SharePoint is a typical question that enterprises would have. The following points listed, such as agility, process disruptions, if any, increasing of the process accuracy, customization, and customer satisfaction. These are all a few features and points that will enable an existing infrastructure setup to extend and become better by using a BPM. The different technology enablers for any BPM would be typically, if you see, how a manual system or a process, how it will transform into a completely automated system. You can manage and operate the different systems and applications that are on Skelta or a BPM. Envision and model the future processes and keep them ready, and then execute and deploy them as you go forward. You can also optimize and analyze the entire setup and the system for you to improve your process quality and administration. There are different aspects to each solution that will be provided. There would be a solution studio, a process modeler that will enable you to design the workflow or the process, a collaborative environment which allows different users such as business users, developers, and administrators to log in and access the different parts of the system. Business rules also form an integral part, which could also be modeled and built in within the BPM platform here. Once that is done, how to execute and deploy. So since this is a rapid application development platform, this removes all the necessity for coding and reduces that to a minimum, bare minimum required. The orchestration engine allows you to completely model and execute and deploy the workflow immediately. Business rules engine allows you to manage all the business rules that have been defined and control the entire process as it moves from one step to another. And finally, the optimize and analyze section allows you to configure the different reports that are needed for different processes, API-based reports, and also allows to debug, discover new routes, alerts, analytics, etc. Moving to the key capabilities of Skelta BPM, it's a 100% web-based platform, allowing design as well on a web-based environment. We focus and strengthen on human workflows, allowing different users to interact with the systems as required at different steps in the process. Skelta also is completely mobile, so users can access and receive and send tasks from their mobile applications or from task delivery channels such as Outlook, web, SMS, IVR, etc. We also have flexible role-based task assignment possible. This will eliminate all bottlenecks that would occur in any system and allow users to, administrators to effectively take care of the seamless flow of the application from one step to another. Another important component of Skelta is the business activity monitoring section, which allows users to talk to different applications. Also, it has reports that will be built and available by default on the system and also allows for customization. Skelta is a BPM software that is built on the Microsoft technologies, and hence we have deep integration to almost all Microsoft products, be it SQL Server, Word, Excel, etc., or SharePoint, Desktop Rules Engine, and just various Microsoft technologies. We also have support for high availability and disaster recovery environments via VMware. This allows for very large, complex applications for a large number of users to be deployed and maintained with ease on the system. How we empower the enterprise mobility is currently we have a couple of applications on the Windows 8 and Apple iStore, for work tasks and applications. And we also have electronic digital signatures that will enable users to revalidate their, approvals, compliance, and different options that each user would need to perform. We also have the capability to build complex business applications. This will work in integration to your existing business setup and landscape that is already available. For that, Skelta has the different connectors to various technologies, Dynamics, Desktop, SharePoint or SAP, Via the Skelta Object Access, we allow to integrate with web services, with any other third-party applications as well. And Skelta Enterprise Console acts as a single portal to maintain and manage all the applications that are built on Skelta. This can either be deployed independently, the product is completely capable to work as an enterprise-level solution, or in integration with other applications as required and decided for your business. Skelta integration to business systems can be achieved via any of these. Like I said, a SharePoint connector, SAP, BizTalk.NET via Skelta Object Access, where you can directly read .NET DLLs on the application here, or via Skelta Dynamics integration as well. Here are a few sample use cases for Skelta BPM. What is the continuous improvement processes that are involved in any organization? For example, SLA management, issue management, product management or work order. Similarly, compliance and management initiatives such as audit requirement, engineering review designs, or document management systems that need to be maintained. Third-party collaborations, where you will need to throw open the application to the external vendors or contractors who need to access a particular section of a step in a workflow, allow them to interact with the system as well, or within an enterprise for enterprise excellence. CAPEX, employee onboarding, entire HRIS applications, human resource applications, leave and expense management, and accounts payable are some examples here. Skelta BPM is a core product of our product offering. We also have solution frameworks that have been built on top of our core products. Examples for those are accounts payable, a document management system, leave and attendance management, human resource information systems, capital expenditure, and enterprise risk management, etc. All of these are pre-configured frameworks which enable rapid deployment and development for your organization once you choose to go with any one of these solutions. These are also customizable, which allow you the flexibility to add and remove business rules as required. The different industry-wide BPM applications that have been using Skelta and BPM are typically in the BPO and aerospace and defense spaces, automotive, banking, and financial services for various automation of auxiliary business processes or primary business processes. Similarly, within for e-governance and for all the enablement of the government initiatives on a paperless platform, Skelta BPM offers a perfect solution. Sample composite applications again, that have been done in the past. It could be lead management under the sales division. It could be any of these. Offers and scheme management for different dealers and distribution. Sales incentive schemes, forecasting analysis. These are examples. I will just leave the slide for a second for you to absorb the data. Similarly, if you take the HR system, it could be performance management, recruitment. Exit processes, full and final processes, ESS applications, and timesheets and process management. We also have, like I said, the core of the session today is enabling or extending the BPM functionalities to a SharePoint environment. Basically, the Skelta SharePoint Accelerator provides a seamless integration with Microsoft platform, which allows users to talk to the different applications and allows business users to use a single application for all the solutions that are built there. This also provides full integration to all SharePoint features, version control, document management, content management, sharing of different tasks and applications within different resources. Skelta also allows you to create different resources via the SharePoint environment using Skelta, such as Word, Excel, Outlook, or web browsers that people use in a day-to-day aspect of their working. Key features, like I mentioned, for the Skelta SharePoint Accelerator are it allows the BPM functionalities to be encompassed within a native SharePoint environment. And hence, it will result in a powerful platform that has both the BPM functionalities as well as uses and leverages all the SharePoint native capabilities such as collaboration, portals, content, and business intelligence, etc. Skelta SharePoint Accelerator also allows you to effectively embed the BPM into a SharePoint environment for complex processes. Skelta SharePoint also enables to, derive for a maximum value benefit that you would get from SharePoint, primarily because it makes usage of the entire SharePoint environment much more easier. So it could be collaboration, portals, enterprise content management, or search and versioning of documents, managing of different applications that are built on the system, and different options like this. So once you integrate Skelta with SharePoint, this creates a single web-based enterprise console for complete process management. And Skelta Enterprise Console is also a standalone location where you would be able to manage all the different applications and systems that you could see for process documentation, managing of the processes, automation of the processes, and administration and change management, and universal resource management as well. The different features of the Enterprise Console, these are the core Skelta features, are such as process documentation, automation, administration, change management, meaning make changes as frequently as required and have a quick turnaround time and time to market, and resources management as well. Process documentation, Skelta allows for a centralized interface. It also has repositories for the different processes, workflows, manual and automated processes, etc. Process automation, we have the workflows that will with the ability to design, deploy, and manage all the workflows from a repository. You can also associate Skelta workflows to a SharePoint site, a list, or a custom event on a SharePoint site. We also have a file watcher concept where Skelta can read any file system or folder and wait to trigger or process any workflow. Skelta also has the ability to integrate with SAP or other ERPs with the required plugins for us to activate and use all the features for different workflow steps. This is not only for the workflows to be triggered, but also for the different steps that would come in at different sections. Administering a process is viewing all the attributes in a single location and allowing for the administrator to view where exactly a process is pending at a point, who are the different users who need to work on the application at that instance of the workflow, and inbuilt infrastructure is also available for process control and self-assessment. Change management, we have version control in place, tracking and audit of the different versions of the workflows and forms that have been created on the process, and managing all the different resources such as multiple user directories for a single repository, centralized management of queues and users, organizational hierarchy of different time zones, different locations, Active Directory integration, integration to databases, integration to web services. All of these are possible on the system here. SharePoint integration, Skelta, like I mentioned, allows to be integrated with Active Directory or any other third-party LDAP providers. We also allow custom attributes for resources to be created and enabled. SharePoint lists can directly be linked to a workflow step, meaning I can design my workflow around the SharePoint list instead of a form. I also have wizards that are readily available to help to create processes in a quicker fashion. Dynamic modification of businesses, even without .NET coding, is very easily possible on the system here. We can also, since Skelta has deep integration with SharePoint, we are able to read all the metadata from the SharePoint and use it at different steps in the workflow process for process routing, for the storing of data, or for integrating or interacting with other business systems. Web services and XMLs are standards which SharePoint and Skelta use in common, and hence the integration becomes that much easier with all the different aspects of SharePoint and Skelta. Skelta also allows to invoke workflows that have been built already using Windows Workflow Foundation. We can also use SharePoint 2007, the older versions of SharePoint. Our next release is going to have the SharePoint 2013 connector as well. We have seamless integration with MOS, integration with Excel services and business data catalogs, and display of workflow statuses using the inbuilt and readily available web parts that can be done. This is one of the examples for a SharePoint-enabled Skelta system, which would be order processing. So without the SharePoint, so there is a scenario and a to-be scenario here, for example. So without the SharePoint Skelta accelerator, sales rep would log into a SharePoint site, create a quote with some 25% discount. As approvals is defined, he will get the manager, sales manager gets an email. He manually verifies it, checks all the discount values, company policies, etc., and approves the quote. Sales rep is again notified of the approval. Sales rep again needs to log into the ERP to check the approval and the data. And exceptions to the workflow requests cannot be managed within the process. This is when only SharePoint is used for an order processing scenario. If we were to take the SharePoint and the Skelta accelerator, so when there is a SharePoint site, the user logs in, a sales rep, and he creates a new sales quote. This sales rep can submit this quote either also from his SMS or via email instead of logging to an environment. Secondly, the process gets initiated, the Skelta process. Then it goes and verifies all the business rules, the ERP values, item codes, etc. And if the discount is within the company policy limits or not. If it is within the limits, then the quote is forwarded to the sales manager. Otherwise, it is rejected or sent back to the sales rep. Sales manager can view these tasks when it comes to him either on his own Outlook or in the SharePoint site. Sales manager can approve, reject, or send it back to the sales rep again according to his discretion. If the sales manager is not available, it can also be just routed to an alternate resource. So delegation, reassignment features can be added here. Escalation mechanisms can also be used. On approval, a new customer gets created and an order gets created on the ERP. And sales rep receives all the approval notifications along with the sales order reference from the ERP. This is a very simple example, but a powerful one showcasing the difference in using Skelta SharePoint and without using Skelta SharePoint, how the situation is. We would now go in for the demo. So here, if you see this Skelta SharePoint enabled system here, you see a system where this is a SharePoint site where multiple applications and lists and options are available here in the SharePoint site here. So to start off, if you go to the site actions and open the menu there, you will see in addition to all the default SharePoint settings, you also have a new settings called Skelta settings, which allow you to access all the Skelta controls and web parts from within a SharePoint environment. So if you click on this and log into this specific section here, the Skelta, Skelta web parts and components of Skelta are available within the SharePoint site itself. So Skelta SharePoint Accelerator allows for a seamless integration within SharePoint and Skelta. So here we have the different options available for Skelta: settings, calendars. Queue controls is where Skelta has different options available where multiple team members of a single team can access the tasks and work on them. We have forms and workflows, creating associations with the different list items. Skelta inbox. Configuration of security. Skelta can directly integrate with the SharePoint groups and use the access rights from them. Skelta reports is also an important section where we have the business activity monitoring or the KPI-based reports here. So now we also have save event and event associations as well that have previously been saved and could be reused as required. So we will start off the process using the initiate forms section, which allows us to trigger and start a workflow. So if we go to the initiate forms section, initiate forms at the corner, this allows me to trigger a process using any one of these. So this is the Skelta forms that is embedded within the SharePoint environment. So I want to start off a process. So if I click on one of these forms here, so let's say a demo form, I can click on this. This will open a form for me where I can add my details here. So let's say HIMA, designation is pre-sales, department is sales, and address is Bangalore, and click on submit. Once you click on submit, this is for a request to be started in the system, and as soon as this form gets submitted, this triggers a process that has already been configured by the workflow system here. We could go to the reports section or the BAM section now and open the running instance of the specific workflow or process. So this system is completely access driven. So if you see, this is the Skelta business activity monitoring that is available here, and 62 instance ID of the demo workflow is what we have triggered now. So we can either drill down and view the complete details and audit trail for this instance, or we can double click on this and view where exactly this particular process is pending right now. This allows us to go to the next section. We can log in as the next user. It goes for approval. Or we can go to the inbox. This is a centralized task board for any user who accesses Skelta. So this is where if I am part of a workflow in the process, I have access to this section where I will be able to log in and click on the required items for me to work on. For example, as John Smith, I have access to my inbox here and I need to log into the approval screen. So when I click on the approval screen, this allows us to enter details here, provide the specific comment, and click on approve or reject as required. Also on the left-hand side, you see that the form that we have submitted is available in a read-only mode, and we also have approve reject options. This screen is completely configurable and customizable, so this will allow us to use whatever options that we want for a business process. So you can click on approve. And once so the system has moved on from that step to the next step, if we were to check the running instance again, this workflow is finished successfully, and an information message is sent back to the user who has raised the request. This is a very, very simple example showcasing the entire workflow system processing can take place from within the SharePoint environment. Also, we can log in to the different, other sections of the system here. For example, if you were to go to the workflow section, here is where we have different options available for how these workflows to be triggered or need to be triggered. So a standard workflow can be triggered like the example that we saw now. It can be from a form that is being submitted. But we also have many other options, such as a workflow being triggered from a SharePoint environment, So if I were to click on this and open this particular section, this will show how we can associate this to a list or a library which is connected to this SharePoint site where Skelta is connected to this using the SharePoint accelerator. Again, if you see, these are all the different options available here. So we can choose any one of these site options and provide with a list or a document library. We can choose one of these now. And this will enable me to choose an event as to when I need to trigger the process. Is it when a field is being added, item is being added, updated, or deleted, etc. So depending on all of these, I could choose which, when I want to trigger this process. So once we choose an option, we can save and continue, and this will open the process modeling or the workflow modeling for us. So we could close this and choose an existing example, a sample SharePoint workflow example, and open this in the design mode. The start activity, this is the core part of Skelta BPM, the workflow designer, which allows you to configure the different processes and create the different workflows as required. So if you see the start activity, this is an activity that is available by default in the workflow. When you right click, you can go to activity properties. This is where you will be able to define variables, contents, XML variables as required. So if you click on the XML variables, this will showcase the complete event infrastructure of the SharePoint list that is associated with this, or a SharePoint document library that is associated with this workflow, based on which the process needs to start, or where all the content or data needs to reside when the workflow is in progress. This enables the entire workflow processing and hence makes the workflow configuration much more easier. Very quickly now, on the left side, I have a list of activities that are available, and they're divided depending on their type. A human activity is one that requires human intervention in a business process. So it could be an approval that a user needs to make, a checklist that needs to be submitted by any business user, or an information message sent back to a requested offer form or a request. We also have invoke forms. Skelta can also integrate with InfoPath forms and InfoPath tasks if required. Our next set of activities are engine activities. These have activities that would take place behind the scene. It could be decisions, database activities for each loop, decisions that need to be taken place during runtime using the data that comes into the system. How we add any of these activities is click and drag and drop it onto the design surface and connect it with the previous activity and configure the relevant properties for each of these and allow to publish the workflow as required. We also have integration activities which allow me to create or open Office documents during runtime for each process or workflow. We also have invoking of web services, opening of a .NET DLL via SOA execute, so I can execute a .NET method. Let's say there is a workflow Windows Workflow Foundation method that I need to call. So I just need to drag and drop the SOA execute activity and use it to call the particular DLL that is already associated with the Skelta system and execute those methods. It can be web static objects or web objects. If it has already been added, then we'll be able to showcase that and view code and process that right from the system here. So this reduces and minimizes the coding that needs to be done for any system. And this also allows me to reuse the existing bits of code that I have already created for different applications that are available. Now, in addition to the integration activities, I also have a specific set of activities for SharePoint. So I have a list of more than 20 activities here, which allow me to associate SharePoint events to workflows. It allows me to create groups, lists, sites, delete lists or sites and use them. Or I could also navigate through an XML or a SharePoint list during runtime and provide permissions accordingly. Another very useful example is the move or copy item. When processing of a particular document or a list item is completed, it could be moved from unprocessed document library to a resolved document library. So the extensive graphical user interface of the Skelta Process Designer allows for very quick workflow configurations, and once you publish this workflow, the workflow will be ready for us to use using the publish and test run options as well. We also have settings, configuration of KPIs and other data points as well. And this also allows us to import and export the workflow definition to various formats, into the XML format, and then reused into different sections as well. So we could then go to the next section now. From the workflows, we could go to the forms as well. Then we'll quickly view how the forms could be created and used from within the SharePoint environment. So here again, if we were to open a sample leave request form, how a form that is created on Skelta can be used within a SharePoint environment is what we're going to see here now. Again, I have a controls toolbox on the left-hand side, which allows me to design the different forms using the different attachments, Boolean button, controls that are available. I can click and drag and drop them onto the design surface for me to create or add that particular field here. In addition to the simple controls available, Skelta also has complex repeatable controls such as grids, panels, pop-ups, tabs, etc. And you can create the form to be as complex as required. Now, in addition to these, Skelta also has the ability to create custom controls. So if there is a requirement for a control that is not available on Skelta, that can also be created and used Skelta Designer like any other control that is readily available. We have extensive help files and APIs also available for this. This allows a business application to be extended not only from Skelta perspective to SharePoint, but also to your specific core business processes by creating the custom controls and custom activities as well in the workflow, and extend the functionalities to the different sections as required. These forms also can be published and previewed and imported and exported, the definition of these forms, and used as required. And once we are done with the forms, these forms are directly associated for the different workflows and sections here. There is no coding at all again involved here. All business rules can be captured right within the system here. So when we click on preview, we'll also be able to view this particular document here, allowing us to view this. Click on finish. This will open the root XML definition, which will associate the workflow to the form that is available here. These are mandatory validations that have been included just by a click of a button. And this that you see here, this is the root XML definition that can be used for configuring the workflow based on the runtime data that's coming into the system here. Right. We can now move on to the next step and go to the ban configuration, the reports section on the system here. So Skelta has multiple reports readily available. They are divided into two sections. One is a dashboard section, another is an analyze section. So under the analyze section, you will see a list of various reports such as workflows executing, pending, completed, failed, etc., or based on each transaction. Each workflow that you see here can be drilled down and broken and viewed. The complete audit trail can be seen here. Alternately, the runtime instance that we saw previously can also be accessed from this particular section here. All these reports can be exported to any of these formats from the left-hand, right-hand bottom corner, and they can be exported and reused for any business purpose. For example, sending it as an email attachment, PDF, XML, Excel, etc., and reused. These are all the standard data reports that the system offers. We also have performance-based reports for different users, fast workers versus slow workers, medium, time taken for each of the activities by each individual user, etc. We also have this dashboard that can be configured for each specific process that is within the system here. It could be a loan origination application. It could be, a data report based on the KPI, based on amount, based on approval and rejection. So it could be seen as a bar chart, a pie chart, or a trend analysis. For each of these, a threshold limit or a slot can be set. And once, let's say, the threshold limit exceeds, an escalation email can be triggered off to the different users as required. Similarly, if you view it as, let's say, a trend analysis, you can set the slots and set periodic reminders for the different workflow reports that are sent here. We can also view the status of all the workflows running here by clicking on the workflow statuses link here, and this will allow us to view the status of the different workflows. How many aborted, how many finished with errors, how many are sleeping. So if I want to view exact step level or exact details, I just need to click on one of these bars. This will take me into a detailed report of the exact 6 instances that have been, aborted with the complete audit trail details, etc. available. So this completes the Skelta and the SharePoint integration aspect for the workflows that have been showcased here. I would very quickly open the Skelta standalone application as well now, the Skelta Enterprise Console, which has all these features that we were talking about as a standalone application. This is to showcase the stark difference and the agility and enablement that you receive when Skelta application has been embedded within the SharePoint environment. This is one of the repositories that have been configured here, so it could be for any one of these. We can click on the Active Directory and log into one of the applications here, and this allows us to also configure more than one authentication providers to a single directory. Multiple reports, can be attached to the single repository here. We also, if you can very quickly log into one of these, we'll be able to see that all the controls, all the system components that we saw from within the SharePoint environment, they are available actually on the Skelta system. And the web paths from Skelta have been embedded within SharePoint, and that is the deep level of integration that is available with Skelta and SharePoint. Also, the different options of the Skelta system of the additional features such as security, management of user rights. All of these are inbuilt features on the system here, which will allow all the users to access the different components based on the user rights that are already defined. Here is where you can see the all the Skelta components within the Skelta environment again, web paths, inboxes, and if you go to the Enterprise Console, hover over, you will see a list of all the Skelta components. So if we very quickly go to the workflow section, this is where you will see the Skelta workflow that we saw, the workflow designer component, based on SharePoint event, based on a list event, based on a info path event, etc. Similarly, if we go back to Enterprise Console and go to tools, here is where we can manage forms, SOA assemblies, manage list items from external databases. This is where we created the forms from the forms designer. We also have settings under which we can configure SAP, BizTalk, and database connection settings right from here. And once a connection is established, it can be used within the workflow and the form as required. And data grids can also be configured directly from here. Skelta also enables to use the Skelta WebPath settings that are readily available and embed custom A-Stakes applications within the Skelta environment as well. And we also integrate with SQL Server reporting services, which allows Skelta to integrate and pick all the reporting data from a SQL Server and display them using the templates and data onto the Skelta forms and the Skelta workflows as required. This is, in detail, the Skelta Enterprise Control section. Again, another customized approach to this is to create a custom A-Stakes page, which can be given as a link and seen within the Skelta environment here. So if I click on the My Page link, this allows me to use give a link to a custom A-Stakes application, which, used within Skelta here directly. So with that, we have completed the Skelta specific application. Now we are open for questions, if any.
Thanks a lot, Hima. Yes, there are the questions which we've got as the session was happening. So probably, this is for everyone who's joined the call. You may directly speak with your questions, or you may use the chat interface as from I've already raised, whatever is convenient. So one of the questions that I did get was, just a second. So what about the SharePoint 2010 and 2013 integration?
Sure. So SharePoint, Skelta SharePoint Accelerator currently can integrate with SharePoint 2007 and more, SharePoint 2010 as well. Our next upcoming release, which is going to be, very soon in the next couple of months, will be able to integrate with the SharePoint 2013 as well, which will include all the new features of the SharePoint 2013 and also allow us to, integrate with the newer features of SharePoint.
So the next question is probably, that can be addressed by me. Now there was a question that if the session has been recorded. So yes, the session is being recorded and will be sent to all registrants and attendees very shortly. Can we get the marketing team to send an email campaign so that we can send this to all SharePoint customers? So I'm not really sure if it's a SharePoint related or a product related question, but if we can give a little more clarity on the question, then probably this team will have. I think that's about it. So thanks everyone for joining us for the session today. And the session is being recorded and will be sent as a copy to access to all the registrations that we've received. Thanks a lot, and thanks a lot, Hima, for the session, and thanks a lot, Jocelyn.
Thanks, Madhu. Thank you, everybody.